Excuse me. Shalom, 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 brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel. I'm Brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
Brother Benaiah.
And we are A.O.I. once again coming to you on this Sabbath morning. It's an honor, it's a privilege to come before you. Excuse me. But nonetheless, we got to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God of Israel through the strength and guidance of his Son and sacrifice and example of his Son, Christ. And we're going to get into it today. We're going to be talking about Passover. Basically, giving you a heads up because the Passover is approaching. And if you're in this truth, you're just not coming into it or you have no clue about it. Today, we're going to break down a couple of things regarding the ordinances of the Passover. You know, we ain't going to go too far and too deep into it for time's sake, but we're going to give you some ordinances nonetheless about what should be and should not be done on the Passover. So let's start off with Exodus chapter 12. And we'll read down to that whole chapter. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1.
The book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of each year to you.
So right there, he's letting you know that the time around Passover, this will be the beginning of the year for us, the month of Abib. But he said it should be the first month of the year to you for the nation of Israel. Keep going.
Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of the month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. Verse 4.
So we were supposed to on the 10th day of that month. And for those who don't know, who just coming into this truth, or you've been in it for a minute and you just ain't did the research, in the nation of Israel, our months begin with the new moon, which is the full moon. We don't go by Esau's calendar because Esau have changed times and times and times again. If you've been paying attention to the news, they just passed a law where they did away with the daylight savings. So once again, they're going to change times again. But for the nation of Israel, we go by the moon to determine our months, and it's 30 days in between each month, not 31, not 28, it's 30 days every time. So basically telling you it's 360 days in a month, not 365 or 366. But nonetheless, when Passover's coming around, the beginning of the month start. That's the beginning of the year for us, nonetheless. And it's saying right here in verse 3.
Let me say something real quick, brother.
Okay, go ahead.
Even in the world, right? When you look into what the word moon mean, month mean, it actually means moon when it goes back into it, right? So just like in the scriptures, it say a new moon is really a new month. We're not celebrating the moon or anything like that. It's just a beginning of a new month. That's what the Lord set up for us to celebrate a new month.
Matter of fact, let me get that script right quick. It's Sirach 43 and 8. It says the month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So it says the month is called after her name, just like the brother would bring it up.
Right. I'm gonna read this real quick. It says the moon marks the beginning of a lunar cycle, which means that there's a new moon about once a month, because the moon takes about a month 29 to orbit the earth. In fact, the word moon shares its origin with the Latin word metri, which means to measure, and messiness, which means month, right? So it's the new moon mean the month. Esau like to disguise things, but I'll kick it back to you, brother.
All praise. But you're saying in verse 3 that in the 10th day of that month, we were supposed to take a lamb according to the house of our fathers, a lamb for a house. Now today we all know we in our captivity, so most of us are not fortunate enough to have a lamb to raise or buy to slaughter, you know. But we go to the grocery store and buy it, you know, and prepare it nonetheless. Keep reading verse 4.
Verse 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb.
So that was basically going into if your household was too small, and just say you got 3 people in your household, you got a whole lamb. Now you would go to your neighbor and y'all share it. But go ahead.
Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. Verse
Keep
6.
going.
And ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
You see that we were supposed to have that lamb and then kill it at the evening on the 14th day. And that's what we do on the Passover cookie on the evening of the 14th. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And they shall take the blood and they shall take of the blood and strike it on 2 side posts and upper post of the and upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat it.
They said we supposed to take the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts of the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat. We put the blood on the side post in the top of the house or the door because that was commanded of us to do in order for the death spirit to pass over us, you know. But today in today's society, like I said before, might not be fortunate enough to even have a lamb. So there's a lot of different brothers and sisters that have been doing Passover for a while now, and they have different ways of putting things up to represent the blood, whether it be tape, blankets. Some even put the blood up there if they living in their own house in their own area. But you stand in an apartment or whatnot, you know, putting blood on your door, hey, folks might call the police on you. But nonetheless, do what you got to do. But keep reading.
Can y'all hear me? Got my screen froze up.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. And verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So it's telling you that we're supposed to eat it at night, roast it over a fire, and eat it with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs, and shall eat it. So that's letting you know how you're supposed to cook it and what you're supposed to eat, what the meal actually consists of. Lamb that's roasted over fire with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. And your bitter herbs are your romaine. Y'all brother got any other bitter herbs?
Did you say kale?
Nah, that's a good one. Horseradish, I believe. You can basically Google that online, you know, and it'll give you a whole different list of different bitter herbs. But
I
nonetheless,
would say kale. If brothers don't know where to look, you can pretty much find kale anywhere. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty easy to find. And that's a pretty good bitter herb.
Yeah, it is. I think we had it last year.
Yeah, we had that last year.
Yeah. But nonetheless, roasted lamb over a fire, what we do is put it over a grill. Put it on the grill, fire it up, you know. And eat it with bitter herbs and unleavened bread. You know, it's various recipes that you can look up online. You can also go to the website, got a tutorial that's teaching you how to make the unleavened bread. But keep reading, brother.
Verse 9, eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his leg, and the pertinence thereof.
So letting you know you're supposed to put it over fire. It ain't saying put it in the oven and bake it or put it in some water and boil it. You got to put it over that fire. Go to 10.
Verse 10, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire.
Now, for those who don't normally eat lamb, hey, that's one of the best tasting meats, you know. And the Lord set it up that way, you know. But He also letting you know that you're not supposed to let it lay over to the morning where you're trying to save some for your breakfast to scramble some eggs with, or
Right.
take it to your lunch,
Right.
or let mom and pops try it out, or let your cousin get a little bite. Nah,
Mm.
you say it's not supposed to lay over. Read that one more time.
Okay.
Verse 10.
Verse 10, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning,
Now,
and
when it's
that which
talking about, it's not talking about the bitter herbs or the the unleavened bread, but it's talking about the lamb. Because if you don't know, Passover, another name for Passover is Feast of Unleavened Bread, meaning we'll get to it later on, but it's a process where you're supposed to eat the unleavened bread for 7 days. So it's not talking about burning or not being able to eat the unleavened bread or the bitter herbs the next morning. It's talking about the lamb. It said, and keep reading on it.
Hey, I pick up right there. Verse 11. The
Well,
book of
no,
Exodus.
finish that in verse 10. It said, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. So just say you had a lamb or you had some lamb chops, whatever the case may be. You eat it, you cook it that night, and you might have a piece or two left. You're supposed to burn that with fire in the morning. You can't let it what's the word I'm looking for?
Can't eat the leftovers and
Yeah.
leave it up for like for your breakfast meal, like the brother bringing out, or for tomorrow's lunch. That's not how the Lord ordained these things to happen, right?
That's
Just
right.
because you have a little extra and you feel like you should leave it over, the Lord said the ordinance is that we supposed to burn that thing with fire. So you gotta say, hey, who am I gonna listen to? Am I gonna listen to the Lord or my stomach? You know. So that's what it all boiled down to, and
That's right. Let's keep reading though.
right? Verse 11, and thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
You see that? It said you shall eat it with your loins girded, meaning you got to have clothes on, shoes on your feet, and a staff in your hand. You see that it's requirements when dealing with the Lord's high holy day. Excuse me. It's certain things that have to be done. You gotta have shoes on your feet, gotta have clothes on, and you gotta have a staff in your hand. You know, and you shall eat it in haste, meaning eat it quickly.
Right.
You know, a lot of folks when holidays come around, they like to sit around and laugh and joke and drink and all this and that. Nah, you're supposed to eat it in haste.
Right.
It's reason behind it, but we'll get to that later on. Keep going.
Verse 12, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord.
See that? He was giving us the ordinance to set up the parameters, if you will, of how we supposed to conduct or say have the Passover. And this is the reason why, getting ready to pass over the land and basically kill and destroy the firstborns of the land, whether it be. Go ahead.
I want to ask you a question. Like in verse 11, when it said eat it with haste, um, you think the reason he said eat it with haste so we can go ahead and be finished, like before the death angel pass over, right?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But said, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. So if you read the story of Exodus, you'll realize that the firstborn of the animals and the Egyptians were killed that night. And he said he was going to execute judgment against the all the gods of their land, just like he gonna do when he come to redeem us out of this land. Gonna smite all their wickedness, all their different gods and beliefs, put it all to death. Keep reading. Unless you got something to add.
Verse 13.
Yes, sir.
And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Egypt.
You see that? That's giving you the reasoning behind putting the blood over the doorpost and on the side post. That was your protection. Keep going.
Verse 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial.
For what?
For a memorial.
A memorial is when you remember what happened. Something great that happened. Go ahead.
And ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations.
Through what?
Throughout your generations.
So we're never supposed to stop celebrating the Passover. It's a constant reminder of how the Lord saved us as a people. So we still generating, we still here. We all know we Israelites. If you're on this call, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, we are the Israelites, the children of Israel. So we still supposed to be keeping the Passover, even though we've been brought to and fro all around the world into these different customs. We still are able to keep our high holy days. Mainly this one, Passover. Keep going.
And ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
You see that? By an ordinance, meaning how you supposed to keep it. That's what we breaking down and going over today. Keep going.
7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
You see how serious that is? The Lord ain't playing. He said 7 days ye shall eat that unleavened bread. Like I said before, there's various recipes that you can go to learn how to make the unleavened bread. But nonetheless, it says, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. Now, what is leaven? You know, those are the agents that are in your foods that help it to rise. You know, I'm going to give you a quick definition as to what it is right quick.
That's right.
Can you read that, bro?
Yeah. Let me see. Right. Leaven, a substance, typically yeast, that is used in dough to make it rise.
There you go. Basically a raising agent, yeast, you know, a fermentation. Those are baking sodas, baking powder, other things with yeast. We'll put a list of different agents that you can look up or look into in the description below when we're done with the video. But nonetheless, you're supposed to get that out of your house, and you ain't supposed to have it in your unleavened bread. Go ahead, read that one more time. 15.
Verse 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses.
So you got to get that leaven out of your house. No, it can't be in your cabinets. Can't be in the closet. You got to get that out of your house because it's symbolic for sin. You know, it's not just a leavening agent. It also represents sin. And if you know anything about the scriptures, majority of the things written in the scripture have a double meaning. You know,
right. And you know, a lot of times in the scriptures you'll find different religions or different philosophies that come from the Bible, right? Just in their own little version. But this is where you get spring cleaning from, right? When we go around and clean up all the leaven out of our houses, you have other nations, they adopted like spring cleaning or whatever. That's where you get that from, where you clean pretty much every inch of your house, you know?
That's right. Got to get that leaven out of your house. It says, for whosoever eateth leavened bread From the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. You see that? The Lord don't play with that. He said you should be cut off. And if you don't know what cut off means, he talking about putting you to death. That's how serious it was back in them days. That's how important, or that's how what's the word I'm looking for? What I'm trying to say is that's how much the Lord wanted us to keep the Passover and do it the right way.
Right.
That's how bad he wanted us to do it the right way.
Let me get a precept on that, brother.
All right.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened, for even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Right? And it says, therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Meaning that unleavened is a representation of you putting away your sins, right? You cleaning your temple, you know,
That's
and
right.
you searching out all throughout your house to find every little crumb and every little piece of leaven and get it up out of there, you know, because we had to purge away our sins, and and that's representation for that. Right?
That's right. Just like if you got any issues or problems with your brothers or sisters, family members, friends, you're supposed to purge that out, get that out of your system. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to come to the Passover having ill will or evil thoughts towards your brothers or your sister.
Right.
You know, you got to get that out your system, get that malice out of your system, and wickedness. That's that sin. You're supposed to be striving to do better and build yourself up each and every day. And each and every year that you make it a Passover, Lord's will, you're supposed to be a better person, So you got to purge those sins, purge that leaven or malice out of your system. And also it says in verse 8, therefore let us keep the feast. Meaning we got to keep the feast. It ain't no excuses. We got to keep the feast, man. You can't keep putting your jobs before the feast. We got to do what's required. We can't keep making excuses, Keep the feast. All right, let's go back to Exodus 12 and
16.
Yeah.
The book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 16. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation.
What?
And an holy convocation.
So it's letting you know on the first day of Passover, it's supposed to be a holy convocation. That's a holy gathering, a separate gathering. We're supposed to come together as a people. You in this truth, you're supposed to be gathering with your brothers and sisters on Passover. Go ahead.
And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. And in the seventh day there shall be an holy convocation. To you,
see
no
that?
manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
You see that? So we're supposed to come together on the beginning of Passover and at the end. And that's just let you know how our Lord deals. We're a type of people, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we love to party. The Lord set it up where a majority of our feast days last 7 days. But he's saying you got to come together on the first day and at the end of the week, at the end of that 7 days for a closing. And let me see. It said, no manner of work shall be done in them. So when the sun go down on April 1st, this year, 2022, that begins the start of the Passover. We ain't supposed to be going to work, clocking in for the oppressor. We ain't supposed to be out cutting the grass, then washing your car, trying to press your suit. Nah, you got all the time in the world to do that. The Lord say on this day, sit down somewhere, gather with your people, have a good time, tell the story, tell the memorial. No manner of work shall be done in them. It says save, meaning except that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. So we're letting you know the only work that shall be done on those days is fixing the food. Fixing the food. That's it. Ain't no other work going on. And we should be, as a nation of people, we should be happy about this thing. The Lord actually told us, sit down, don't work. But we'll make excuses to go work and then be complaining about not having an off day when we at work.
Right.
So who you gonna listen to, Israel? You gonna listen to your boss, your own mind, or you gonna trust in the Lord, like it tell you in Proverbs 3 and 5. We got to do what's required of us. Now that we know we Israel, right. The Lord requires something from us to put that work in and to trust in Him. You got something you want to add,
bro? Like the Lord said, we're not supposed to be doing any work except, right? It says, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Meaning, the only thing that we're supposed to be doing is cooking the Passover. That's the only work that you're supposed to be getting into. You know what I'm saying? Like the brother said, not cutting grass, not going over to help your neighbor build a backyard patio. You know, these are things we supposed to be sitting at home, right? Or at the designated place that you're supposed to be at, cooking the Passover, fellowshipping with your people, loving them, not coming in with ill will like the brother was bringing out. You know, it's supposed to be a good fellowship, you know. So, you know, just like in the world, they got holidays and stuff. The families, they come in with ill will, everybody hate each other and stuff like that, you know. But the Lord said, hey, you better purge that out at my feast. This ain't the 4th of July. This ain't Christmas time, you know what I'm saying? Where you can hate cousin poo poo now, you know what I'm saying? You ain't even got to go over there and talk. It's time for holy convocation and holy gathering. But that's it, brother.
All right. What verse we on?
Verse 17.
All right. Read that to 18 and then we'll jump to Leviticus 23.
All right. The book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 17. And ye shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
You see that? It's letting you know that Passover is also called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But go ahead, bro.
For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by ordinance forever.
You see that? What the Lord called us. He said, I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. So whether you know it or not, Israel, you're a part of an army. So you got to do your due diligence inside this army, you know. And that's to be done throughout our generations. Meaning every year we're supposed to be celebrating Passover, no excuses, bar none, especially knowing that you Israel and you knowing what's expected of us as a people. Keep going.
Verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even.
You see that? So he's letting you know when the Passover actually starts. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even is when it starts. He said, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month. So if it starts on the 14th, it's going to end on the 21st. At even. That's 7 days. 14 plus 7 is 21. But from there, let's go to Leviticus chapter 23. And we're going to read 1 through 8. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1 through 8.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. Verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
So the Lord was speaking to the house of Israel, to the children of Israel, concerning the feast. And he always let you know it's a holy convocation on his feast, meaning we're supposed to get together on the feast, you know. But he says 6 days shall work be done. It's going over the Sabbath. But when you feasting, when we have feast days, just know that you might end up having at least 3 Sabbath days within that week of the feast. You got the beginning of that week of the feast. When we come together, we ain't supposed to do no work, no buying, no selling. just say, for instance, this year Passover gonna start on Friday evening. That's the Sabbath, but it's a feast day, so we're gonna treat it just like a Sabbath. But we have the ability to eat or to cook because it's a feast day. But then you turn around the next week, we might have a feast day. The closing would be on that Saturday, and we had that Sabbath on Friday. So you have basically 3 Sabbaths throughout that week, if that makes any sense to you. But keep going, verse 4.
Verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season. Verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
So, like I said beforehand, the first month, 14 days after that new moon, that full moon, or the first month, that is when the Passover is held. 14 days after the new moon. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
So letting you know you're supposed to start eating that unleavened bread throughout the week. Go ahead. It ain't got to be a big piece. It's not like a cake or anything. It's it's bread that's unleavened, meaning it's not gonna rise up like a cake and be a nice little chunk. It's gonna be kind of thin, but you don't have to eat a big piece. You can eat a small piece. Nonetheless, you're gonna eat it throughout the week. Go ahead.
Verse 7. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
Keep going.
Verse 8. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the seventh day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
Once again, the Lord letting you know that we are not supposed to be doing any type of work. Understand that. The Lord don't want us to work. He keep repeating that for the Sabbath day and for the feast day. So we can't make up excuses and try to continue to go put in work for the damn enemy. The enemy gonna try any and everything to keep you away from the Lord. That's why we ain't really supposed to be mixing and mingling with them, because they'll never understand the true workings of the Lord. They'll never fear him nor understand him. So we're not supposed to be trying our best to make up excuses to stay punching the clock, because they don't wake you up. They don't pay your bills. They don't do none of that. The Lord wake you up and do all things for you. So when he tell you to keep his Passover, keep his Passover. If y'all brothers got something you want to add, go ahead.
You got it, King.
But from there, let's go to Deuteronomy 16 and 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verse 16.
Uh-huh.
3 times in a year shall all the males appear before the Lord thy God, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty.
You see that? So for those who don't know, we as a people are supposed to appear before the Lord at least 3 times a year in the place where he put his name, which would have been Jerusalem. And that's what you read in Acts chapter 2, when the Holy Spirit descended upon Peter and the apostles. And you had different men from out of every nation, gathered in Jerusalem. They were there because it was Passover. That's why they were in that town, or in Jerusalem, excuse me, because it's required of our people to come together at least 3 times a year in Jerusalem. But being in our captivity, we don't have the means to do so. So we got to come together where we can. But nonetheless, it says come together 3 times a year, minimum, for the Lord's feast, before the Lord thy God in the place which you shall choose for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. that's letting you know once again that's Passover. And in the Feast of Weeks, another name for Feast of Weeks is Pentecost. And in the Feast of Tabernacles, you know what I'm saying? That's where you dwell in booths. But those are the three main or the three major holidays, high holy days that we supposed to come together. But all of them we supposed to come together. But these three are the main ones that we supposed to come together 3 times a year. And I just wanted to pull out some quick precepts just to show or to make a quick point. Let's go to Exodus 4:22, and somebody give me Job 2:1. And I'll get Genesis 2.
I'll get the Job 2:1.
Yeah,
Which
Job,
one out of Exodus? 4:22.
yes, sir. Let's get Job chapter 2, verse 1.
Which one you want first?
Job 2:1.
All right.
Okay, I got it. The book of Job.
And the brother was cut off.
I get it. Job 2:1.
Yeah. I'm already there.
Okay.
It's book of Job, chapter 2, verse 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. So a lot of our people read that scripture and think that these were the angels coming before the Lord to present themselves. I'm going to read it again. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. It said the sons of God. Who are the sons of God? Let's get that in Exodus chapter 4, verse 22.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel my son, even my firstborn. Verse 23. And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn.
You see that? That goes into why the Egyptians, why the Pharaoh had his son killed in the Exodus during the plagues, because he wouldn't let the Most High's first son go, which is Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Read that again, verse 22.
Verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son.
Is
Even
what?
Israel is my son.
Letting you know that the nation of Israel, the house of Israel, is the Lord's son, the sons of God. Even my firstborn. So what was it talking about in Job 2:1? It said the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. The sons of God, one of those days, one of those feast days, whether it was Passover, Feast of Weeks, or Feast of Tabernacle, we came to present ourselves before the Lord. If you go to Job, it's another version. I think it's in chapter 1. When our people came, let me see where it's at. Well, we came to present ourselves before the Lord. Job 1:6, it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. So these 2 different days, but the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. One of them may have been Passover, the other one Feast of Weeks, and the other one could have, we only had 2 accounts right here in this story. But sons of God are the house of Israel, not angels. Sons of God are the children of Israel. And to prove that again, I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 6. Let me see. Verse 2. Because this is a verse that a lot of our people get confused on as well. I'm going to start at verse 1. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, meaning the nation of Israel, the house of Israel, saw the daughters of men, meaning the other nations, that they were fair, and they took them wives of which they chose, excuse me. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, but that he is also flesh. So we ain't talking about no angels. A lot of people read that and say that were angels laying down with men and women and created giants walking around the earth. That is not what that's talking about. That's why the Lord said you got to read precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, and connect the precepts to understand certain mysteries that's hidden in the book. But nonetheless, the sons of God, when you read in the scriptures, those are the nation. That's the nation of Israel. We are the sons of God. And let me keep reading. Verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. So a lot of people read that and say, see, giants. No, that's not what it's talking about. When it's talking about giants, is meaning they had a high stature.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They were famous nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? Well known. Just like your politicians, your mayors, your celebrities. They were well known.
Hey, and people who believe that when they say there were giants among them, they'll read it and don't understand it, and they'll run with it. Like right now, you got these fake pictures on the internet, which I used to believe. Not pictures, but well, you have pictures and videos of like I guess these super large, supposed to be human skulls or human leg bones that a head look like it's bigger than your house.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to live up to what they said so-called giants, like they discovering the bones or whatever.
That's right. But nonetheless, that's a good point, bro. In Deuteronomy 16:16, it said we supposed to come before the Lord at least 3 times a year. That was Passover, Feast of Weeks, and Feast of Tabernacles. From there, let's go to Exodus. Let me see. I think I did that already. Let me go back. Bear with me. Talk for a minute, bro.
All right, just like the brother bringing out, as far as there were giants in those days and giants after those days, right? That's not literal, right? Now, we're not saying that there weren't giants in the Bible, right? As far as tall men, right? You look at the NBA, we'll call them giants, 7 foot. You go stand next to them and see how short you look, man, or how tall you are, right? So, but that's really going into men of renown, right? Great men. Like even this world, they'd be like, "Hey, you colossal, man," meaning you big, not meaning you don't have to be 6'8". You could be 5'2" and still be colossal and still be
Right,
mighty. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
And in the old days, also somebody like Pharaoh would be considered a giant to the people back then.
Right.
He would be
Correct.
considered a giant.
Right. And
Putin,
like
right now,
today, right.
Putin is a giant.
Yeah.
Right. Donald Trump.
Yeah, but they not taller than your house though.
Right.
They shorter than you, but they giants.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Go
like
ahead.
Trump, he'd be considered a mighty man. Hey, one of y'all are probably gonna handle Trump easy,
Right,
and do with him. You know what I'm saying? But he would be considered a mighty man is in the earth. He has power, he has
right,
wealth, he has
right,
influence, right?
right.
But just like one more time, it said it was giants before the flood and after the flood. The reason being is because you had Shem. Shem was a giant. He was a man of renown. Then out came Abraham. He had Isaac and Jacob. That's what it's going into. You got it.
Mm-hmm. Good point, bro. From there, let's go to Exodus chapter 12, verse 34. And start at 33. Let me see. No, I started 31, 12 and Exodus 12 and 31.
The book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 31.
Huh?
And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as ye have said.
So this is right after his firstborn was killed. Go ahead.
Verse 32. Also take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, and be gone and bless me also. Verse 33. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people, that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, We be all dead men.
So they were trying to get us the hell up out of there. You know, they had seen all the plagues that the Lord had brought upon them for our sakes. So when it came to them losing their firstborn, they was like, "Hey, get these folks up out of here." Keep going.
Verse 34. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their, their kneading netting troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. Verse 35. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. Verse 36. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians.
That's right. So basically, right there, that's giving you the breakdown as to why we eat the unleavened bread, so to speak. Well, nah, we ain't got that yet, but why we supposed to eat it in haste, and why we did what we did. That's how we came out with our wealth. The same way we gonna come out of this place, because they gonna bring their wealth to us. You know, the same way they brought it to us in the Exodus, in the first Exodus. Hell, take this, take that, go, get away. This time we get redeemed. You know, they gonna bring it to us. But it said the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and that's actually a proverb. Let me get that right quick before we move on. Yeah, it said Proverbs 16:7. It said, when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. So when we doing what was commanded of us, hey, he made them at ease with us. They had to give us whatever they had, and we was up out of there. Let's go to jump down to verse 39, Exodus 12 and 39. This is actually going to go into the unleavened bread.
Verse 39. And they baked unleavened cakes of dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry. Neither had they prepared of themselves any victual.
You see that? So they baked unleavened cakes of dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened. Didn't have time to put all that in the baking powder and the baking sodas that we use today, the rising agent or the leavening agents, because they were thrust out of Egypt, meaning the people was like, hey, get these folks up out of here. They didn't did too much to us. The Lord did too much to us. And could not tarry, neither had they prepared themselves any victual. So those unleavened cakes, were going to be their food. You know, they already ate the lamb, but when he took their firstborn, they was like, get them up out of here. We didn't have time to go grocery shopping to damn grab the bug out bag. You know what I'm saying? Hey, just grab the unleavened cakes and get the hell on, you know, to go serve the Lord. And that's what we did. So that brings out the reasoning behind not having unleavened bread. Eating unleavened bread for the 7 days. Or that's why it's called a Feast of Unleavened Bread as well, is the Passover. You got anything you want to add, brother?
Just about that unleavened bread, right? When you look at the bread being like the body of Christ, right? Christ's body, it was whole. It didn't have no holes in it and no air gaps. It was tight. You know what I'm saying? It was solid. But that's another representation of Christ's body. You know what I'm saying? That unleavened bread It's even, it's level. It don't have any holes in it. It's whole, you know. But yeah, that's all I wanted to add on that.
All right. So we basically about to wrap it up. You know, got to head out the camp, but nonetheless, we were just bringing this out to let our people know what's required of them on the feast days. We're on Passover, nonetheless. So what did we learn today? Passover is the beginning of the month. Well, the 14th day of the first month, being the beginning of the year for us. So last night was our new moon, or today, last night was. So happy New Year to you all, so to speak. You know, it's the month of Abib, Abib. That's the first month for us. And on the 14th day of that month, that's when we celebrate Passover. On that day, the first day and the last day, that's a holy convocation where we're supposed to come together and do no work, no buying, no selling. The only work that is permitted to do on those days is to cook. You know, throughout the week, throughout those 7 days, we are supposed to eat uh, unleavened bread. On the night of the Passover, uh, we're supposed to roast the lamb over fire, over a flame, not cooking it in the oven, not boiling it, but over a flame. So get the grill if you got to get it. You know, you got time. If you can put together some crafty invention to roast it over a fire, do so. Whatever you got to do. But along with that Passover lamb, you got to have the bitter herbs. And the brother was bringing out some bitter herbs earlier. What was it? Romaine.
Kale.
Yeah, kale. Like I said, you can Google it online. I don't have them on the top of my head.
And
go ahead.
Just say a brother or sister, you might not be able to go out and spend $200 on a grill. You can go get you a grill from Walmart, right, for $15, $20. Get you a small bag of charcoal and grill that thing. So then you'll be keeping the Passover. You don't have to have and get as much as you can. Of course, you want to do what you want to go all out for the Lord's Passover or the Lord's feast days, but at the same time, you got to be wise too.
That's right.
Meaning, if you know that you about to be put out your house or anything like that, hey, you got to keep it to the best of your ability. So it might be it might be one rib of a lamb, or
That's
two
right.
rib, but just keep the Passover, keep the ordinances to the best of your ability.
That's right. So you had the lamb roasted over a fire flame. You had your bitter herbs. You had your unleavened bread. Also, no lamb should be left over for the next day. And if it is, you're supposed to burn it with fire to get rid of it. Supposed to have a holy convocation coming together with your brothers and sisters in this truth. If you by yourself right now, you with your family, hey, celebrate it the best you can with your family. But you should be linking up with brothers and sisters. It should be some Israelites in your cities and your towns, But we gonna have Passover this year starts April 1st at sundown. Let me see what else I want to add. Yeah, remember to remove the leaven from your house. It's important that you do that. Remove the leavening agents from your house. You gotta check the ingredients on your foods. You can't have your baking sodas and your yeast and baking powders stored in your cabinets. You got to go through your house and do that spring cleaning that the brother was bringing out earlier. You got to also purge your sins or your malice, your ill will that you had towards your brothers. You got to get that out your system before the Passover as well. Go to your brother and admit your faults or tell him that you got an issue with some things. It might be, hey, the brother didn't call you or he ain't greet you the right way and you got an ill will. Hey, bring it out. Don't hold it in and be at the Passover or going into the new year having ill will towards your brother and sister. You got to get that out your system, whatever it may be. But it's a way and a time and a place to do everything. So keep that in mind as well. Matter of fact, I think I had a scripture on it.
And that's ultimately, like the brother bringing up, purging out that old leaven. You know, you don't want to have that hatred in your heart. The Lord told us to love our brothers in our heart, in your
right.
mind. So, and that's what the Lord always teach about is loving your brother. You know, from the story of Cain and Abel all the way through.
18. Yeah, I'll just get this precept and then we can go ahead and close it out. It's Matthew 18, verse 15. It says, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. So go to your brothers and let them know if you got an issue with them. Don't let it just build up in you. Don't let somebody else have to come on the scene for you to file out. You know, bring your art or your trespass to your brother and sister so y'all can squash that so-called beef you got. You know, can't be going into the new year with ill will or malice in your mind. You know, you got to bring those issues out. That's how we become strong as a people, as a nation, doing the Lord's will. You know, but nonetheless, was there anything I missed, brothers?
No, I got one more precept I want to bring out, brother.
Okay.
Going on what you're talking about, right? The book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse number 13. It says, admonish a friend. It may be he hath not done it. And if he have done it, that he do it no more. Meaning, go and ask your friend. Some things people just talk and have rumors about, and then you could be sitting there being mad about a person, and they not even done that or said it. So it's always best to go and ask questions, so that way you can have a clean heart and a clean mind, right? So that you don't have to dwell and have hatred for another brother or sister, you know. So always, instead of holding things in, ask the brother or sister, hey, did you say this? What did you mean by this when you said that? You know, it's always better to ask that because they can break it down to you and it don't even be that way, you know.
That's right.
Because a lot of times your mind will play tricks on you, you know, and have you having ill will or hating your brother because, you know, your mind, it really is the devil, right? The demons that's playing with your mind, telling you to hate your brother, telling you, hey, no, he said it like this. Hey, he kind of raised his voice a little too loud. You know what I'm saying? So it's always good to admonish your friend.
That's right.
It says, verse 15. Admonish thy friend, verse 14. Admonish thy friend, it may be he hath not said it, and if he have, that he speak it not again. Admonish a friend, for many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale. Meaning, don't believe these tales, especially when you got other people that come to you and they might give a rumor about, you know, a certain person. That's why you can't believe every tale, right? That's why in the world they tell you, you know, right, believe half of what you what they say, believe nothing that you hear and half of what you see, you know. And that's just how we should be in this truth. That's why we got to ask each other questions, you know.
That's right. Before the last thing I want to add is remember during the Passover, you got to have your loins girded, shoes on your feet, with a staff in your hand, and you got to eat it in haste, you know. So those are the ordinances of the Passover. If I forgot some at the end, hey, just rewind it, rewind the video, or read it yourself. Most importantly, read it yourself. You know, Passover once again is this Friday, not this Friday, but April 1st at sundown. You know, it's not an April's Fool, you know what I'm saying? But it's the Passover, you know. But nonetheless, hopefully, we hope and pray that this was edifying to you, brothers and sisters. Do your own due diligence, though. Don't just take our word for it. Put your hand to the plow, open that book and read it. Break down the ordinances, make it make sense to yourself, you know. But hopefully, you brothers and sisters were edified. And I'm Brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
Brother Benaiah.
And we say shalom to you.